The MLC embodies over 65 existing maritime labor instructions, including the Minimum Age Convention of 1920 and the Labor Inspection Convention of 1996.
That's a lot to swallow.
Well, let's start with Title I.
Mark is starting the process of becoming a seafarer by meeting the requirements to work on a ship.
In earlier times, no regulations protected seafarers from abuse and mistreatment. Title I has 4 regulations: minimum age, medical certification, training and qualifications, and recruitment and placement.
The MLC has set 16 as the youngest age for qualified seafarers.
I'm over 18.
That's good to know because special restrictions apply to seafarers under the age of 18. No matter their age, seafarers must be medically fit and have no condition likely to worsen due to working on a ship.
In addition to medical screening, potential seafarers must receive training on ship duties and personal safety.
If recruiters are part of the hiring process, seafarers are not to be charged for these services in any way.
Not so fast, sailor. You just can't go to work without an employment agreement. The MLC has provisions, guidelines that benefit you and ensure you're treated fairly.
Title II addresses employment conditions. It's broken down into several regulations: employment agreement, wages, work-rest hours, leave entitlement, repatriation, compensation, manning levels, and career and skill development and opportunity.
Basically, an employment agreement is a contract. The MLC requires that a seafarer be given time to review before signing.
See any dollar signs in there?
The MLC requires ship owners to use the flag state's wage policies as standard for determining pay.
When calculating wages, workdays should not exceed 8 hours. Past 8 hours, overtime pay should be no less than time and a quarter. Officially published exchange rates favorable to the seafarer should always be used. And shipping companies must make allotments available to seamen at regular intervals and reasonable charges. Not just yet. We haven't addressed Title V, and for that, here's a story about a seafarer named Marco. Marco worked on a Fantasylandia flagged ship. This was one bad ship. No warm water for showers or tea. 6 people stacked in each room. Spoiled food. No recreational facilities. The list goes on. Marco thought that's just how things went until he read the MLC and realized a lot of the things going on were not compliant. Marco tried to inform the master, but he couldn't be found. Marco looked for a form to report the violations, but that form was nowhere to be seen. However, when the ship entered the port of Goodlandia, a port Marco knew was compliant with the MLC, Marco filed a complaint with the port inspector, which led to an inspection of the ship. The inspector logged the violations and notified the flag state and the master that there would have to be some major changes. The master made immediate changes. He also followed the complaint handling procedure, which prohibits and penalizes any retribution taken against the seafarer who filed the complaint. A hard copy of this procedure accompanies every employment agreement. And from this day forward, Marco and his shipmates always had hot tea.
Marco sounds like a savvy seafarer.
He just knew his rights under the MLC.
Listening to all these regulations, I'm having a hard time figuring out what anyone besides a seafarer gets out of the MLC.
That's a pretty smart question, Mark. A committee of seafarers, ship owners, and flag state officials created the MLC. Ship owners liked that it discouraged favorable treatment. Ships entering ports of ratified states must show compliance or face possible detention. Compliant ships have a quicker inspection process, boosting efficiency and profit.
Wow! Now I understand how the whole maritime industry benefits from the MLC.
And you'll remember all of this?
How about a quick recap?
No problem.
The Maritime Labor Convention, or MLC, establishes a standard of working and living conditions for seafarers while creating fair competition for ship owners. It was adopted by the International Labor Organization due to the growing need for the fair treatment of seafarers. The International Maritime Organization calls the MLC the fourth pillar of quality shipping, on par with SOLAS, STCW, and MARPOL.